Hey friends, this is the all-new Theragun PRO 5th generation from Therabody.
With this device, the competition just got pushed off the playing field.
And it's hands down the best massage gun that money can buy. I'll explain why in just a second. But it's also possible that a much older product from the same company can deliver almost the same thing that this product can at a much lower price. And I'll explain why at the end of this video. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Kelvin, and in this channel, I review products I like using, as well as talk about personal growth and self-improvement. All right, let's get started with the review. The Theragun PRO 5th generation, announced in September of 2022, is actually a significant improvement over the previous generation. Why? Well, there are lots of 1% improvements that, if you add them up all together, actually make this a significant leap forward. In this video, I'll first go through what's inside the box, as well as show you some of the physical differences between the 4th generation and the 5th generation. Then I'll turn on the device and show you what are some of the advertised, more obvious improvements, as well as show you some that are not. Lastly, I'll give you an alternative option. If you want most of what this product can deliver to you, but you don't want to shell out the full $600, well, there is actually one option you can do. As usual, feel free to skip around the chapters if you know what you're looking for. First, let's start off with what's inside the box.
Here we have a pretty straightforward box, no surprises here. And on the side panel, you can see a preview of what's inside. The sleeve slides right off. Pretty simple box, and boom! Welcome to the Theragun family. And once you open this flap, you can see a very nice carrying case with the Pro inside.
This is actually much more compact than in previous generations, so I really like this soft one, this new one much better. It's inside is quite soft and velvety, and we have the product inside right here. So let's put that aside. Let's see what else is inside the box.
Here on this top compartment, you have all the accessories. And lifting up the flap, on the right side you have the USB-C cable. On the left side you have the power brick with the Therabody logo. And if you turn it up on the side, you have a USB-C port. On the bottom flap, there is a sleeve for the documentation, the quick start guide, and also a Quiet Force single-use solution, which is quite nice because you can use it to lubricate the device after using it for a couple months.
So let's take a closer look at the carrying case that comes included with the product. It is a soft shell case, and I actually think I'll be using this much more often than the previous generation, which was quite a clunker. I remember opening the box and taking it out and then just putting it aside because it was so big. But this one is a bit different. It's soft and velvety on the inside. I really like this blue accent on the zipper, which actually plays off nicely with the blue here, and then this blue stripe, and also the blue on this zipper pouch. And all of this goes back to the previous generation of both the Pro and the Elite. Some design language that with the blue stripe kind of gives it a little bit of a high-end finish to it.
So when we first pick up the 5th generation Pro, it doesn't feel any lighter than the 4th generation Pro, but after weighing it, the 5th generation is 1,243 grams, while the 4th generation is 1,296 grams. So there is a 50 gram difference. And then once you know that, the 5th generation does feel a tad lighter. And just to compare with the 4th generation Elite, that one is 983 grams, which is around 20% lighter than the latest 5th generation Pro. The new Pro is billed at being 20% quieter than the previous generation because it has this proprietary, completely redesigned 2nd generation EQ150 motor. But exactly how much quieter it is, well, we'll have to do a decibel test to find out. So here we've jerry-rigged this 20 centimeter gap between the sound and also the edge of the iPhone with the decibel app. Starting off with the older 4th generation Pro from 2020, we see that that gives off a reading of about 69 decibels. And when we pit it against the newest Theragun Pro from 2022, that gives off a much lower reading of 63 decibels. Just to check it against the 4th generation Theragun Elite, that decibel reading is also the same as the newest Pro at 63 decibels. While there is only a 6 decibel difference between the old Pro and the new Pro, that is actually a whole lot because the decibel meter is a logarithmic scale, which means that 6 decibels quieter is really a factor of 6 quieter. Another big change is the adjustable arm. So if you remember from the 4th generation, changing the angle of the arm was actually a workout in itself. With the 5th generation, it's much easier and much smoother. So you can, it's essentially a one finger operation to be able to change the angle. So this is a big improvement from before. When you power up the device, you get a cool animation. It loads up really quickly, and then from there you can shift through, just by going left and right, you can shift through the menus. So you see the presets for relax, warm up, recover, sleep, and settings. And if you were to go inside, say the sleep one, and you press that, that will start off telling you should grab the device from the bottom part of the triangle, use the attachment, this is a dampener attachment, and then when you press play, it starts going through countdown, 3, 2, 1, starting off with your feet, and you can just follow the directions through there. Now let's compare the differences in screen between the 4th generation Pro on the left and the 5th generation Pro on the right. So right away you notice that the newer screen is higher resolution, and there is shading and colors, and you can even notice the refresh rate on the older product is, you can see it flashing here, but it's not noticeable on the newer OLED display. So one of the most underrated innovations here, I think, is the timer. So before you didn't have that, and I think it just is a very subtle change, but very, very useful. And then number 2 is the force meter, where you see that there are 7 bars, and when you push down, you see exactly how much force you're exerting onto the motor. And in the previous generations, you would start off with 0 bars and nothing, and then you wouldn't even notice that there was a force meter until it started popping up different lines, and then you had to guess, oh, this is actually a force meter. So at this point, everything I've said so far is nice, but is this really worth the $600 upgrade? Well, I wasn't completely convinced until I turned the product on, and I found that there's actually a lot more than what meets the eye. So for example, the sleep routines. On the device, you have pre-programmed routines, and one of them is sleep. There's a 6-minute sequence, and all you have to do is just follow the instructions that's on the screen right here. Instead of where in the previous generation you had to take out your phone and look at the app to see, to select the right routine, with that it's this bright screen that probably triggers you to not sleep. I really like how I can just follow the instructions, turn off my brain, and not having to think about what's going on next. Especially when you're trying to relax, you don't have to think about, what do I do next? Is it going to be the arm? Is it going to be the leg? For how long? How many minutes? All of that is on the device without having you to need to take out your phone. This year, one of the things I'm working on is to try to be relaxed without feeling that I'm unproductive. And with this built into the device, I think it's going to help me put this into my regular nightly routine and turn it into a habit to have a winding down phase to where I can get relaxed. So that's one thing, the sleep routines. The second thing that surprised me about this product is the micro-point attachment. So let me just show you by taking it out of its protective case. You can see that it has all of these kind of like a pineapple porcupine tips on it, and that's why it's called the micro-point. They're actually relatively dense and hard. And at first I thought this was kind of a gimmick, right? It's like you change to the 5th generation, you throw in a new attachment, change the flavor up a little bit. But after using it, it's definitely a very interesting wow experience. So the best way I can compare this is to say that, you know those sandals that have the hard surfaces on them and you're supposed to step on them and they really hurt and they're supposed to stimulate the nerve endings on your feet? Well, this is kind of the same, except it's almost like 1,000 of them rapidly at the same time. So it gives you this pins and needles sort of sensory overload feeling. And it's really difficult to describe, but it's definitely unlike any other Therabody Theragun attachment I've ever used before. So as a runner, this is really cool to use on my feet. And it's definitely something that I was not expecting.
But this makes me wonder, is this really worth the $600? Or if I'm an existing Theragun owner, can I just buy this as an additional accessory? One final thing that surprised me about the 5th generation is the battery. Now, the 5th generation only comes with one single battery. And if you remember the 4th generation, it had 2 batteries that you could swap back and forth so that theoretically you would never run out of juice. So at first I thought, they're only putting in 1 battery. This is the ultimate jip, right? 1 battery, not 2, but the same price. But actually, after using the product for a while, I realized that I really don't miss the old system. And having 2 batteries is really something that only a small number of users would even need. The old system had a charging dock, it had cables that got tangled up. It was just a very cumbersome experience to use. So the new battery system with 1 battery and a USB-C port is actually a lot better. And one cool thing that I found kind of by accident is that this USB-C port, you can actually use it to reverse charge any accessories or devices that you have on you. So this means your AirPods, your headphones, even your phone. In addition to using this to rest and recharge your body, you can actually use the battery for it to recharge any other device that's on you. One special thing to note is that if you are an owner of the 4th generation Theragun Pro and you have these 4th generation batteries, they cannot actually be used interchangeably with 5th generation batteries. So even though they look almost identical, one 5th generation has the USB port here while the 4th generation doesn't. If you try to take the 4th generation and put it into the 5th generation body, it does not click and fit all the way. So that's too bad. If you wanted to switch them and rotate them interchangeably, you cannot. All right, now we're coming down to the final question. Is the Theragun 5th generation Pro worth $600 and should you buy it? Well, if you have the money to splurge, this is definitely a big improvement over the previous version. So for one, it's much quieter, it's slightly lighter, there is a much better screen with a much more intuitive interface. The rotating arm is a lot easier to use. There is the much improved charging interface. And then you also have this really cool micro point attachment. So if you have the $600, then this is definitely the product to buy. However, the Theragun Elite 4th generation is actually a very, very, very strong contender. And the reason is because if you compare the 2 products, the Pro 5th generation and the Elite 4th generation, this one weighs 20% less and it's just as quiet as the 5th generation Pro. Plus, the price is really, really good. It's $399, and if you don't really mind using a returned unit, an open box unit, you can actually find this for $249 on the website. So the price is very good, and the weight difference is especially important because this weighs about 5 skinny cans of tonic, and this weighs about 4 skinny cans of tonic. So the difference is 1 tonic. Now, that weight difference is actually a lot if you use this multiple times a day. By being lighter, you're more likely to bring this from room to room in your house. You're more likely to pack it in a suitcase. You're more likely to take it with you to the bedroom and use it before you sleep. Especially if you are on the petite side, I really recommend a lighter massage gun. With the Elite, you of course don't have the same rotating arm angle feature. You also lose about 30 minutes of charge time on the battery, and you also have much 20 pounds less stall force on the motor. But these are all features that only the most pro or prosumer users need anyway, so you won't miss out a whole lot. And with the attachments, you don't get the super soft and you don't get the micro point, but these are probably individual ones that you can buy separately and just add it to the Theragun Elite 4th generation. So that's my review of the Theragun Pro 5th generation. If you like this video, be sure to check out my other review, which is also about a product that is the best of the best and one that is the most expensive. If you liked what you saw today, please hit subscribe and I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.